everyone to our panel discussion on AI-powered B2B integration to scale and modernize supply chains. As we all know, the global supply chain landscape has gone and undergone a significant transformation in recent years, driven by factors like increasing globalization, digitalization, and the rise of e-commerce. On behalf of my team, on behalf of all our panelists and our sponsored, who are sponsoring the webinar, EdgeVerve, I would like to welcome you all. And today we will dive into the trends that impact our supply chain. Today we have a distinguished panel of experts with us who will take this conversation forward and share their experience and expertise with the audience. And we will talk about the evolution of B2B integration. What was the landscape before technology or digitalization, and how it has evolved in the recent years? What are the trends? What are the drivers that are shaping this evolution? Questions like these will be answered today. We'll also touch on some of the key challenges that are faced by the enterprises and the individuals who are doing these integrations. One more important aspect that we'll touch is migration from legacy systems to modern and absolutely latest AI-oriented integrated platforms. This is something which we'll dig a bit more deep. We'll dive into AI and generative AI in supply chain integration. We'll talk about how can AI or Gen AI tools help supply chains become more agile, more proactive, and address these challenges throughout our journey in our careers, in our enterprises, and very specific use cases that we'll discuss today. Let's explore more on these with our esteemed panelists. Please join me in welcoming our expert panelists who are coming in from India, from Canada, from North America, and they are here with decades of experience. First and foremost, please welcome Kunal Puri, who is a seasoned leader, who is responsible for customer success and is a global platform head of Trade Edge at Infosys EdgeVerve. With over 25 years of experience, he has successfully led digital transformations for major global companies in various sectors. Mr. Puri is dedicated into ensuring clients maximize the value of their investments in the Infosys ecosystem. Very warm welcome to you, Kunal. We look forward to hearing your expert views and experience with our audience.
Thank you for having me.
Our next panelist is Mr. Arvind Rao, who's the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, the man behind the technology of Edge Platforms. He's a seasoned technology leader with over 2 decades of experience. He has played key roles in developing large-scale, mission-critical software products at companies like E2Open and TELUS Mobility. Mr. Rao's expertise lies in leading global teams through the entire software development cycle. A very warm welcome to you, Arvind.
Thank you.
And our third panelist is Erin Gaffey. Erin has over a decade of experience at Canada Post. Erin has successfully executed innovative marketing and e-commerce projects. Now, she specializes in consulting international clients to design and implement tailored e-commerce solutions for the Canadian market. Her expertise is in optimizing logistics strategies and seamless integrations, ensuring businesses can efficiently reach every address in Canada and globally. That's a huge challenge which she addresses. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you very much.
And last but not the least, Andres Venezuela is a fourth panelist who's a supply chain expert with 25 years of experience in digital transformation and IT strategy. He has successfully led numerous projects, including WMS implementations, ERP integrations, and driving significant cost savings and efficiency gains. His expertise lies in aligning IT with business objectives, so merging the two, merging the technology with the strategies of senior leaders, optimizing supply chain processes, and leveraging technology to unlock business value. Very warm welcome to you, Andres.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Now we will start the webinar with some overview about the landscape of B2B integration and how supply chain B2B integration has evolved in the recent years. Starting with Erin, can you give us an idea of your experience in the evolution of B2B integration in supply chain?
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm with Canada Post, which is the postal service here in Canada. But at Canada Post, we're also a courier. And with that, the supply chain environment has transformed with the growth of API keys in technology. For those unfamiliar with APIs, it's the way two softwares will communicate. So here at Canada Post, we are continuously updating and expanding on our APIs so that we can improve operations. We want to make it more efficient so that the consumer is out there and has the most availability for them. So at Canada Post, we've seen a huge shift from the customer interaction. There used to be a lot more of our consumers using our platforms. And today we're seeing more and more third-party platforms that are being used. So customers are asking for more features, for more flexibility. And the convenience of all of that is helping them be more efficient. So here at Canada Post, we're responding to the growing technology through partnerships. And we're working with the platform so that they are available to all of our customers. We feel that working with the third-party platforms is really essential so that we can constantly adapt and expand, and we are always listening to what our customers and the third-party platforms are asking for.
Absolutely, Erin. I think that's the future. Collaboration, partnerships, that's where everybody wants to be, and that's where we will have better solutions that will be addressed in the market. Andres, would you like to add something on the evolution? You worked more than 25 years.
Yes, I have many years of experience in CPG and automotive, and then a few years of experience in the biotechnology and chemical industries. In my engagements with my customers as consultant or my employers as an employee, did a lot of work on the B2B space, right? And one of the things that started happening about 10 years ago is that a lot of these companies now were starting to think, why do we need to treat our customers or really our B2B customers, like our distributors or our larger companies, as another company and force them to go through EDI interfaces or very fixed monolithic portals and things like that? Why don't we flex a little bit and start becoming more like a business to consumer and start treating them as a consumer, giving them access to technology and functionality that will enhance and improve their customer experience? As yes, they are distributors, they are companies, but there's also somebody behind those orders and somebody behind those supply chains too. So I believe one of the things that we were trying in the last few years is how can we leverage artificial intelligence and the newer platforms and computing power to transform some of those EDI interfaces or older portals that were kind of made just for distributors and larger customers to now behave more like the consumer experience that companies like Amazon or Walmart.com or things like that are having.
Interesting. I mean, you've touched on EDI and you talked about e-commerce portals and the ordering systems, which I think is, from my perspective, though I'm not an expert, but I think this is what we've been hearing as well. Based on your experience, Kunal and Arvind, what do you think are the key challenges that enterprises are facing in B2B integration today? What is your take on it? Kunal?
Sure. So I can go next. Yeah. So I think I resonate with everything that both Erin and everybody's been saying here. There's a clear focus in the B2B world to build a collaborative ecosystem, right? How do I work with my partners, partners, whether it is traceability for food, which you need to have right from the grower to the point of purchase, right down to the retailer at point of purchase, whether it is, sustainability initiatives because of which you need data from what's happening on your partner and even behind the fence in that way. I think the 3 or 4 key terms that kind of stand out, if I think across, as you work across multiple industries in the broader supply chain space, the 3 or 4 key terms that stand out is autonomous, So companies are expecting it to be an ecosystem, but relatively autonomous. It should operate by itself. It should be fault tolerant. It should identify and handle for anomalies to a significant extent independently. It should be composable, right? So all of our partners are going to have different systems. Not everybody uses the same ERP. Not everybody uses the same OMS. The ability to exchange data across multiple to do the data harmonization, normalization is incredibly important. So autonomous, composable, ecosystem. And then as you think of these three words, obviously the fourth term that comes together is orchestration, right? So how do I be the conductor of the orchestra, right? Somebody, it may be the band member who's not performing well today or who's out of tune, or it may be the clarinet player who's out of tune tomorrow. But I need to be able to orchestrate all of that. So how do I bring all these moving pieces? Erin mentioned APIs, that's obviously a key component. But the broader idea is how do I orchestrate this so that it operates as one coherent orchestra that's sweet sounding music to all of us rather than somebody being out of tune and jamming. So it's a complex world, but clearly we're making a lot of progress to getting to the nirvana state there. Arvind, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Kunal. I just wanted to add to what you were stating. Today's B2B integration landscape, there are a lot of complexities, especially technical complexities as well, right? And the growing diversity of integration protocols, formats, and many the traditional integration mechanisms using EDI. It's a long drawn process, and as Erin was also alluding to, more enterprises are adopting APIs, but API is still not a silver bullet. There are a lot of every single partner you have to integrate with. There are no standards across organizations. So though it are two companies talking to each other with APIs, will mean almost necessarily somebody has to adopt another person's standard. And that introduces a lot of diversity, how to deal with almost a point integration with each one of the systems and partners. And that is an explosion of technical complexity, and managing that is a challenge. Of course, in addition to APIs, the complexity of integrating with legacy systems. So they might not necessarily have easy interfaces to integrate with, but they are still playing a very critical role in most organizations. So how do we seamlessly coexist with legacy, modern, and lots of integration options, lots of data formats? So that's where some of the challenges in B2B integration get right. And a growing trend, of course, is also about getting access to data in real time. So inability with the constraints of the legacy ecosystem and existing methods of integration, organizations who need to be more agile and reactive to real-time insights find those as big impediments to enable optimized real-time business process. So these are some of the challenges organizations are facing. And of course, technology is changing very rapidly, and ability to tap into the advances of technologies, including AI and Gen AI, having a good integration strategy, a data strategy, which will help merge the old and the new worlds together, becomes a key enabler to achieve these integration strategies.
Well said, Kunal and Arvind. I think you've covered what the importance is in terms of the migration, in terms of evolution, in terms of how we can use new modern systems and integrate them together. One issue, one very specific incident that I remember: legacy systems used to have company names as names of companies, and modern systems use account names as the name of companies. Now, the terms are different, but the meaning is same. This is a very small, kind of observation that I have seen, that when you're migrating from a legacy system, how GenAI can actually identify what's the real meaning and how it can replace the old system with the new term with the right way and make it seamless in a way. So do you see that GenAI becoming more agile, more proactive in addressing to these challenges we discuss, and how can people use the right tools to ease their migration? Kunal?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So I think, with the example that you quoted, the way I think about it, if I just think of the total number of man-hours across the world that are spent in doing data mapping across the world and data transformation, taking it from system A and mapping it to system B, and it's a 5-digit number there, and it's alphanumeric code over here, and how do I do all that mapping? You can probably stand up the Great Wall of China, the Taj Mahal, the Empire State Building, and every other major landmark multiple times over, right? I mean, there's just so much of manual effort that's spent in making sure that data can talk to each other, or data can be formatted and harmonized and normalized, and all the good things that we want to do with it, right? Just think of all the time we can save with Gen AI, with the massive improvements in technology that we're seeing, right? It's exponential improvements. Things are increasing. What could maybe take 30 people of work, 30-member team doing something, can now be done in 30 minutes without a single person, or just one person will literally press the button and get it started. So we're seeing very, very dramatic improvements. And this is not just in the mapping and the harmonization aspect, but also in a lot of the anomaly detection, right? So if I'm getting a weekly file from one of my partners, and this week's number is maybe 40% higher than what I expected it to be, the system can flag that for me. I don't even need to sit and look for it. I just need to be the human in the loop kind of way, where the system will flag to me that something looks wrong here. It doesn't pass the smell test. Maybe you want to have a look at it, and maybe when I look at it, I find it's fine, and things have got better, or something is changed, and the numbers are what they should be. But I am now fundamentally trusting the system to be able to do, trusting the the AI, the agentic pieces, all of them, to be able to do a lot more of the heavy lifting work, giving me the flexibility to actually think about the insights that I can drive from the data, rather than making sure the data is talking to each other and the systems are playing well with each other. I am now able to move my effort and my experience to say, what do I expect it to be? How do I make it better? Rather than just making sure that the two are talking to each other. So we are seeing dramatic improvements in efficiency, reduction in terms of amount of effort that's being spent in manual effort. So massive improvements all around.
Thank you so much for that highlight, Kunal. Erin, how important do you think is team to support such initiatives from your perspective at Canada Post? I'm sure you've handled such challenges already. So what is the importance of team support?
Team support is essential. Not only can you use your team to ask questions, to be a sounding board, to talk through issues, they're also there to add to that man-hour. To Kunal's point, there's so many different issues that can happen, and questions are needed. You need to question everything. You need to be able to expand, think of the impossible, and build for that contingency. Make sure that you have enough time to be able to pivot, try something new, because that legacy system is just not connecting with anything that's new.
Correct.
So teamwork is definitely important.
Absolutely. Arvind, from your perspective, you've helped so many clients and customers over decades. And is there any specific experience that comes in your mind when you've heard Arvind speaking, when you heard Andres and Erin speaking, everybody speaking? Arvind, sorry, can you share your opinion on this?
Right. I think a lot of good points were raised about the real life challenges and experiences in enabling integrations across multiple parties, and the journey towards making it quite optimized. But what Kunal was mentioning, I just thought I will add a few more items. With the advent of AI and Gen AI, and also the agentic AI, we are seeing a level of disruption which was unimaginable earlier. The ability for us to, he talked about mapping and doing the mapping quite seamlessly using the power of AI, is going to bring about an order of magnitude efficiency in onboarding partners. And with any integration, it's not just a one-time integration. Change is bound to happen. Systems get upgraded, partners keep changing their interfaces, new business processes keep getting added. So keeping up with these changes, and when you talk about scale, you're dealing with thousands of partners, hundreds of systems you're integrating with. So being on top is now much more easier with the power of leveraging AI and Gen AI. So right from figuring out dynamically, even if the partner changes their data formats or processing data in a more unstructured manner, whether the data gets embedded in a document and we need to process, extract order information from documents reliably and at scale, or even extracting the integrations with partners using a simple interface like email. So there might be an order submitted by email. There might be, that is okay. That is relatively simple to implement. But if you have to update that order, if there's a change request or a cancel request, how do I make use of AI to automate such processes? These require a lot of sophisticated AI techniques, but that is well within reach of most enterprises today. So I'm very excited about the impact AI, Gen AI, and the agentic AI has on the integration and overall across many industries, but integrations at least are going to get revolutionized leveraging these capabilities.
Thank you so much for that highlight, Arvind. One thing that I've also done a small survey on this recently, and when I talk to senior leaders within supply chain, one of the challenge they say is management buy-in, wherein any new integration there has to be some budget, which the CFO sees as an expense. So when this kind of expense is seen, and senior management are saying, okay, this is an expense that we're going to do to improve maybe our overall customer experience, maybe our overall partnership, overall delivery, whatever it may be. But is integration an important aspect, not just an important aspect of increasing efficiency within the value chain? Can it be leveraged to bring in newer forms of revenue? I mean, human-centered customer experience is the way forward, but can it also create some new forms of revenue? I think, Andres, would you like to answer that?
Yes, absolutely. I was actually just taking some notes on this kind of thing, right? Coming from supply chain and manufacturing, we're always kind of looking on how can we improve the value chain and reduce cost and expenses and reduce waste and things like that. And we've been thinking, how can we use AI for that? But your question is very interesting because it's like, well, can we also leverage AI to do something that is going to create a new channel, a new opportunity, increase market share, something like that, right? And I absolutely think so, right? I just have an example that just happened here at home. Not really something from professional, but my wife just sent a text message to all the family and say, hey, you guys need to send me what is that you would like to get by the end of the year as a gift, and give me some options, right? And things started coming into my mind on what I wanted, and I wanted to share with her. If I had her in front, I can just talk to her, she will understand. But I couldn't put that in the text, and there was not artificial intelligence really or something that could just understand what I was trying to share, right? So I had to go into these portals, or I have to go investigating in internet, take some pictures, attach them into a text message, and then share. And then questions started coming back from, in this case, the people the suppliers, let's say, that I was trying to say, this is what I want, this is what I would like to get. My family started asking me, like, do you really want this? You want that? You want this color? You prefer that other one? Why? It's like, we could use artificial intelligence, absolutely, right? For any product, any service that you have, to try to mastermind and understand what our customers' experience needs to be, what they really want to do before they actually spend hours putting it in a document and sending it to us.
That's really insightful. It really provokes a lot of dialogues which we need to have with industry leaders. Yes, this is something that can be implemented. And thank you, EdgeVerve, for making this panel a reality where we are talking about this, and more such discussions will come up with solutions. And very soon, I'm sure there will be someone who will leave Amazon or something and create something. I'm not sure, but
There is somebody already, right?
Exactly. So it is possible, and maybe Andres, you can create something with a tech guru, and we'll see that very soon. Kunal, would you like to expand on that, like as a form of revenue?
So I think that is, that's one of the fundamental premises of where the trade edge platform from EdgeVerve sits, right? So I think our two core focuses are helping make your existing processes more efficient. So that's the whole cost saving, optimized, faster, real-time insights piece. But then another big piece of the whole B2B integration story is how do I help you expand your network and make it a true network for you, right? So one of the world's largest sportswear and fashion brands, now it's a fashion apparel brand as well, very well recognized. They came to us with a unique channel saying, I often sell through my partners, but the consumer comes to us, consumers come in to buy my brand. He's shopping a partner marketplace, right? What if he doesn't find the size 14 shoe? Or what if he doesn't find, the right color of what he's looking for, right? Because the same shoe is sold in multiple colors. I don't want to disappoint him, and neither does the marketplace. The marketplace is my partner, and both of us don't want to disappoint him because he may go somewhere else and buy. He may buy a competitor product. So how do I create a true endless aisle where product may be sitting in my warehouse, right? But the marketplace has the ability to do a real-time query to check my inventory and then make that product available to the end consumer, right? So a true case of B2B integration is not just about saying inventory availability, the ability to take in that order, drop ship it, also to be able to award the end consumer the loyalty points. So they may be having a loyalty points program on the marketplace itself, but then me as a major global brand also has a loyalty program, and I want to sync the two so that the consumer gets the benefit of both at the same time, right? So all these kinds of use cases were outside the realm of possibility. In the past, you would have to buy the product, scan a receipt, upload it to some website, somebody will manually verify it, then give you a loyalty point, send you a message. All that friction is gone, right? So we've been able to seamlessly integrate this, look up inventory in real time, take a dropship order, get it fulfilled, provide status updates, update the loyalty points, all instantaneously, right? So just think of the manual effort that's been taken out and the additional revenue opportunity that's now been created for an order that probably would never have happened earlier because the customer did find the size 14 in stock, right? So that's one clear example. I think another big point that got mentioned was, there's obviously new revenue opportunities. One of the largest logistics organizations in the world is saying, how can I become the FBA, the fulfilled by Amazon outside of Amazon, right? So Amazon does this, they keep product in their warehouse and they fulfill from there. But what about those models or those partners or those retailers or those brand manufacturers who don't participate in the Amazon FBA program? Can I be the FBA for them, right? So can I keep their product in my warehouse? When they get an order on whatever channel they do, they just route the order to me and I fulfill that order on their behalf, right? So completely new business model. It's basically a warehouse as a service kind of an offering that they're providing, right? A third example I take, again, slightly out of left field. Think of any major food brand, right? A recall for them, for whatever reason, is a massive brand hit, right? It's a massive impact on the brand, and even worse is a recall that did not happen successfully, right? So whatever reason they had to do a recall, unfortunately, it happens. But if they weren't able to do it well enough, that's a massive, massive thing from which the brand may never recover. We've been able to help one of the world's largest food and confectionery players to be able to reduce the average time of a recall from 4 weeks to under 4 hours. Right? And this is because you have all the traceability, your network is established, the B2B integrations are established. So some very powerful use cases have been enabled on top of the microservices, on top of the architecture, on top of the APIs that we provide, which allow an any-to-any kind of an integration to say, whatever's the partner, whatever's the endpoint, it may be internal to your systems, it may be external to a partner, but we can very quickly stand it up and allow the data to flow through that and then provide continuous improvements, which is giving you the flexibility to now think outside. Like I said, you're spending more time thinking about the insights and what more you can do, rather than thinking about, is my data flowing? Is the data correct? Is the two data mapped together? All of that headache is being taken out by the platform, giving you the flexibility to do more with all that you have today.
Very valid points, Kunal. I think you touched upon some very important aspects, specifically when it comes to e-commerce. And who best than Erin to answer that? Now, when we do order fulfillment, and of course, it's, not every month the same. Just like we humans, we work 5 days a week, we need 2 days rest. But a code, but an integration, but system needs to work 24/7. So I want to ask Erin, are there any peak periods such as holidays or like Christmas, and where the code could freeze? So are there any instances from your experience?
Yes, absolutely. In all transportation, there are peak periods, and each company will have its code freezes. So for here at Canada Post, our peak is from mid-November to mid-January, and the system load is a huge increase. So during that time, we do focus and reserve all of our servers for customers to be able to create shipping labels, create return labels, to track the packages. We are welcoming new customers. However, we're not going to do any updates on our platforms, our softwares. We put pauses on all of that. So it's really important to ask your vendors when their peak season is and when any code freezes are happening, which happen typically for our customers as well.
And is there a simple way, like you say you freeze everything, like you don't change anything, you just make sure that you go on and you just service your customers? What if we still have to do some emergency, say critical security breach that may happen, and we have to do it, we cannot stop it? Is there a contingency plan in place where something like this can happen?
Absolutely. We don't want to, especially if it's a security breach, those ones will definitely take over any code freeze. We will stop and implement any updates that are needed. When it comes to the level of security, that's what is determined. And it's also on the approvals. It goes right up the ranks to the executives of all departments to ensure that we've looked at every contingency so that we understand what the impact will be to ensure that we're not going to break something else.
Yes, it should work seamless, and that's one word. Seamless integration is important between various systems, partners, solutions. There are questions coming in already, so I would like to request the audience, please keep sharing your questions. There is also a poll which will start very soon. You can answer those questions there, and say or share your experience with the B2B integration. I want to ask Kunal one more thing about when we spoke about these stories and building new business models, and of course revenue. How important is of course security layer is there in every software. Every integration needs that layer. When it comes to the future, when we have Gen AI, and of course AI ML, what kind of measures to be taken before we start that process? Is there any idea on that? Can you throw some light on that, please?
Sure. So I'll probably also ask Arvind to pitch in on this one, right?
Sure.
But the way we see it is obviously security and privacy is paramount. So while you're talking of, and here obviously in the supply chain world, it's never limited to just internal systems. You're always talking to an external system, right? There's no way you're going to avoid that. So being able to maintain the sanctity of the data, being able to harmonize that, the privacy and the security is obviously paramount. There is nothing that is more important than making sure. I think as Erin said, right? Whether it's a Black Friday, Cyber Monday that we see in the US or North America, whether it's a Singles Day in China, whether it's the Boxing Day in the UK, the peak loads that you expect or you experience or you expect to experience along all of them are going to be very, very similar, right? But at the same point of time, if there's one thing that beats going or planning against a peak, it is making sure that platforms are secure, platforms are private, the data remains secure, and the data is accessible only to those, which is where designing these solutions is equally important, right? So being able to design for the right personas with the flexibility to understand that the personas will evolve, the network itself will evolve. Today, if I am, let's say, a heavy equipment manufacturer, right, or maybe even an aircraft manufacturer, if I go back 10 years, I probably needed a network where I have 10,000 suppliers, but I needed visibility to all 10,000 of them. Today, with the way the world is evolving, I not only need visibility to all 10,000 of them, I need visibility to the 20,000 suppliers sitting behind them who are supplying product to them, maybe supplying raw steel to them, right? So the complexity of what I need to handle for the ability to build my own network of networks, if I use that term, right? It's a network of networks I'm trying to build. Being able to manage that, being able to say, if I'm issuing a request for a quote.
Let me just add to what Kunal was also talking about. I mean, for the successful, I think one of the foundational elements will also be to have a good and clear data governance framework We're dealing with data from outside organizations, within different systems within the organization, and so on. So clear data governance framework, which will define ownership, setting standards, setting up your compliance requirements. And another critical thing for success is also having a scalable cloud-based integration platform. As the peak workloads, which Erin was talking about, the unpredictability, the year-end processing, month-end processing, there are a lot of variations of it. So how can your platform scale to meet these variable workloads and do it efficiently? All these items become critical in the successful implementation. And of course, along with the data governance, it includes the data quality management, having the ability to ensure that we rely on clean data, remove duplications, having business rules validated, especially when we talk about AI systems, ensuring that the data feeding the AI systems are validated, the bias removed, having responsible data and AI guardrails put in place becomes critical to minimize the risk of using AI systems in production. And enterprises having all these framework put in place will ensure the success of these integration initiatives.
Thank you for continuing what Kunal was saying, Arvind. It really boils down to a lot of pre-planning that we need to do to make sure that the integration goes smooth, and understanding and learning. So from my perspective, when I see that any transformation journey any organization is going through, there are always three aspects of any transformation: the people, process, and technology. So technology is there. I mean, we know what we want, how we want it, what should it look like, so we can find it. A process we have been doing already. So a lot of organizations all have set processes, they know. But the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges, is people. When any transformation happens, education is very important. Preparing your employees, your staff, your senior leaders, everyone is critical of for the success of any transformation. So Andres, I think you've had this experience. Could you help us understand how everyone who's listening to us now can overcome this challenge internally?
Yeah, so one of the first things that come to mind, and it's something we were working on in Kimberly-Clark, and I've been also trying to work this with in Accenture before, and Emergent Biosolutions. You need to educate and train your people, right? They need to upscale. And we need to make everybody to be, if not a data scientist, at least they need to become educated enough or data literate. Is what I would say, right? Early in my career, when I came out of college and started working, there was still a lot of people that didn't know how to use computers, right? And today, you cannot get a job, you cannot work anywhere if you don't know how to check your email, if you don't know how to use a computer, you don't know how to use a phone, right? You cannot get into a virtual conference like the one that we're having right now, right? So now everybody needs to be literate enough to be able to use computers and having these things. Well, same thing is with data and with artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence needs massive amounts of data, and it needs to be clean and good data. But then artificial intelligence is not going to do the work for the people. It's going to do all that analysis and investigation. It's going to try to make some decisions, but the decision at the end always needs to rely on somebody that is able to see those results of all that analysis, right? And then say, yes, we can do it, right? So if you go and watch, for example, that movie of the people that put the first man on the moon, right? And they were doing all these calculations manually and things like that, right? still somebody had to make a decision. Yes, we can make it, or no, we can't make it, right? It did happen also in the Apollo 13 movie. You see it. They said, we're not going to make it. How do we bring it back, right? Well, today we have situations where even artificial intelligence can tell you exactly what's going on, or predict, if you have enough data, and the good data can predict this is what's going to happen next week. Okay, there were some systems that were predicting we're going to have a surplus of demand of toilet paper during COVID-19. Some of those systems knew it 3 weeks before, but the problem is the producers just didn't have the manpower, the equipment, and they were not ready with the things to produce so much, right, and distribute globally. It happened with the masks. So again, if you train your people and you make them data literate, they will be able to read, understand, and also read in between the lines, right? AI may produce all the KPIs, all the metrics and everything, but only a real data literate will be able to see between the lines and say, okay, these results are actually telling me I have an opportunity here.
Perfect. Well said, Andres. I think this is very, very important aspect of any new integration, any new transformation that any enterprise is trying to do. Not only that, when it comes to supply chain, apart from internal, I think external data is also very important. There's, if data sharing is not right from, say, your partners or your vendors, it could be a challenge. Erin, you've had any experience on this in terms of external data with the carriers?
For sure. To Andres' point, it's not just about seeing the numbers, gathering the numbers, it's interpreting it. And how do you understand what am I pulling out of this? For AI to work at its best, it's going to cost you. If you're looking for cost savings, then you're going to have to gather the information manually. But if you can spend a little bit more money, you can use AI to gather that information for you. You can also use your vendors, as you're mentioning, to help with that. When you're sending out your parcels, all that information is being gathered. You're getting it. You're going to see your invoices. You're going to see all of the people you're shipping to. Taking that information, you can expand and go into marketing. You can market to your customers and market to your like customers. If you know that your customers are in a certain area, you can expand in that area. So you can take the information that you are gathering, whether it is manually or through AI, and then find new customers, find new areas to target. So it's very important to be data literate, to understand what you're gathering, so that you can understand, when do I need to make more toilet paper?
Spot on. I mean, it's important to collect, analyze, and then forecast. Now, I would like to ask either Arvind or Kunal to ask this question: like, how do you see EdgeVerve's expertise shaping the evolution of autonomous supply chain over the next decade? Now, we spoke about the evolution, we spoke about how AI is influencing what's happening, but from your perspective, since you've been shaping the future, literally, in the next 10 years, where do you think we will see AI for making our lives easier?
Very fair question. I think that's a question that keeps us awake at night, saying, where are we going next as an industry, right? And what more can we do to make everybody's life easier? Because, like it or not, this is among the most complex jobs. You got to predict the future per se every day, and it's a new challenge every morning. It may be a canal getting shut down today. It may be geopolitical conflict somewhere else. It may be a virus issue somewhere else. It may be a port strike some other day. All kinds of issues, but you are sitting at the back end of it, and you're going to face the brunt of consumer and customer impact because of that, right? So it's a complex field for sure. There's a lot of predictive analytics that's becoming more and more prevalent. So the whole forecasting piece is becoming very, very big, and they're making leap strides in that space to be able to do better forecasting, to be able to do a lot more what-if analysis. A lot more control towers, digital twins are terms that are picking up to say, can I predict or can I model what potentially could happen, and how do I deal with that? But then, the other lens that we try to use, and I'll let Arvind add to this as well, is that at the end of it, it does come down to your data, right? And there are 5 broad parameters parameters that will always impact your data and what you can do with it. The cost of acquisition of that data, the quality of the data that you're acquiring, the time taken to be able to analyze that data. So there's no point of analyzing data that's 3 weeks old, right? Because the world has moved on from there. What's the recency? What's the frequency? Are all parameters that are important. I think, over my 25 years career, early on, a statement I heard 10 years ago from one of the real leaders in the space. He said, we've been living our life driving, looking at the rear view mirror, right? It's high time that I start looking at least out of the windshield. And obviously, I want to get to a point where, similar to a Google Maps, I'm able to predict that 3 miles down the road, there is a roadblock coming up, or there's an obstacle, or whatever the situation may be, there's a traffic jam coming up. But he says that we've lived most of our life looking at the rear view mirror, looking at 3-week-old data and saying, this is probably what happened, this is why it happened, what can I do to fix it? And it's all the ripple effect. The entire focus is now to say that first, let's get to looking out of the windshield. And then let's go to looking at forward-based predictive prognosis to say this is where we want to go, this is what we see happening. And here are the interventions I can put in place to make sure that the future is smoother than where it is today.
Wow.
More you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think you summarized it very well, Kunal. So, of course, I think to the real-time ability for having data quality and accessible for driving real-time analytics, all these are critical factors. I just want to also add to the data is now more accessible than it ever was. I just want to throw in the advancement in the technologies and also the accessibility enabled with the use of Gen AI. So those who have a good insight to read between the lines, they were constrained because they did not have the right access to the right data at the right time. And with the use of technology and also the ability to use the domain expertise and express it in natural queries, natural language, but getting it translated to a technical query like a SQL, going to the right data source, fetching the information you want. So for somebody who is a domain analyst and knows exactly what to fight for, there are a lot of impediments today to enable that analyst in making good decision even after collecting and making the data available. So those friction points are rapidly getting dissolved right now, and I think the domain experts who have a good eye for the data, all the technical impediments which were restricting access to that information and enabling those analysts from getting insights and making decisions is a lot easier now.
Thank you so much for highlighting that aspect. And as rightly mentioned by Kunal about the rear view and the windscreen, I think that example is going to stay with me for life. It is something very important that we need to look forward. You have a huge, at least 10 times the size windscreen, and you're still looking in a rear view mirror, so which is much smaller. So that says a lot. We have pretty much exhausted our time. I think this discussion can go on, and we can talk about it for hours.
And that brings us to the end of the webinar, which was sponsored by Infosys EdgeVerve. I would like to thank all the panelists who have joined us here today and shared their expert insights. Thank you all the audience who were here listening live and everyone who's listening to us in the near future. We look forward to hosting more such insightful events for you and bring expert opinions, views, and experience to share with you.